Hi guys, welcome back to the GOLANG restaurant management project series. So in this video, we're going to do some things related to the user controller and basically token helper and auth middleware. So these are only three files that are left that we have not worked on yet. And for auth middleware, at least we have created the outline function. And similarly for user controller, we've created all the outline functions. Just a reminder, all of the this entire logic for the user to log in and sign up is based on a series that I've already done on my channel. It's called the JWT authentication for GoLang series, right? So it's about 5-6 videos, and I've already covered all of this in that series, right? So a lot of the things I won't explain the nitty-gritties, where I'll basically go fast in this part in case you you know most probably if you've been learning Golang along with me since so long, you already know how to write the whole sign up and logic login logic. But if you've not familiar with it, go check out that video and you'll easily understand how that works. All right, and I'm going to be explaining it here as well, but not in as much detail. That's the whole thing that I'm trying to make you understand. All right, so in the token helper file, I'll have two functions, right? Very similar to the other project that we've done, right? So the two functions, just a second, create some space here so that I'm able to type. Yeah. So the other, the functions are basically generate all tokens, and it'll obviously accept a couple of things and return some things, and it'll have a function definition. Now, as you already know it, basically we're going to call it the package helper, and we'll have some packages that we'll import, and then these will be basically the functions, right? So one is generate all tokens function, the other is update all tokens function, and the last one is validate token. Makes sense. Now that same JWT authentication logic, right, I plan to use in other courses as well. Like let's say in the future, if we do like an e-commerce platform or something like that, we'll try and use the same one so that you kind of build upon it. Or if I find a better authentication system, obviously I'll use that in the e-commerce project video. All right. So now when I saved it, my plugins, they automatically removed that import line because I'm not importing anything right now, because these are just function definitions, just outlines of the functions, and not we're not calling any packages yet. Anyhow, so now yeah, sorry, so it's giving me the squiggly line because the U is not capital, so that's great. You can fix that now, so that squiggly line has gone away. Now coming back to our user controller, right? You already know that there'll be these functions. Why? Because you probably have already seen the JWT authentication Golang series. So you know that there are these functions that we have, right? Get users, get user, sign up login, hash password, and verify password. So for before we start anything, we have to refer to the users collection in our database. How do you do that? You say user, sorry, not in caps, in small. Say user collection, and you'll say Mongo dot collection. Okay, is equal to database dot open collection, database dot client, comma, user. Now we have two squiggly lines. There are three, but two are for the same reason, which is basically database. It doesn't understand where database is. And there's also one for Mongo. So for Mongo, obviously, what you want to do is you want to put brackets here first and bring it on a separate line. And here you want to install the, or at least import the Mongo package. So the Mongo package doesn't start like this, right? It doesn't start from github.com. It starts from go.mongodb/mongo-driver/mongo. Right, so at least that's taken care of. Now, squiggly line here has gone away. It's gone away here as well. Database is basically your database package. So how do you refer to it? You'll refer to it like this. Just copy and paste it here. So that's gone away as well. So far so good, no issues, no problems. And let's start writing some code for our get users. But actually, before I do that, I want to write some pseudo code or some comments for my signup function, just to tell you things that I'll be doing here. So now the signup function is very logical, right? So what we'll do is firstly we'll convert the JSON data coming from let's say Postman to something that GOLANG understands, right? The second step would be to validate it. So validate data based on user struct, let's say. And then you'll check if the email has already been used by another user. And you'll at the same time you'll hash the password, but you'll also check if the phone number has already been used by another user. Okay. And if obviously these have been used already, email and phone number, you'll throw an error. Otherwise, you'll start creating the user. So you'll get some extra details like some fillers, basically, which is like created, add, and updated, add. Those two timestamps that you'll have to create on your own out here because the user won't send it from Postman. And then you'll create a user ID as well, right? So you'll create some extra details for the user, for the object. So I'll say create some extra details for the user object. And then you'll also generate the tokens. So you'll say generate token and refresh token. And for that, I think the right place is the generate all tokens function. So you'll say calling the generate all tokens function from helper. Okay. And then when everything goes well, you will insert it into database. So if all okay, then you insert this new user into the user collection, right? And then you'll obviously return status okay and send the result back. So these are all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 steps that we have to just take care of and sign up. So sign up is the only the longer function. So I thought it's better to write like this. Otherwise, you might get confused. But if you want to do the same thing for login, I think I'll just do that so that there's like consistency. I'll do the same thing for login as well so that it makes sense to you. So what you want to do basically with login is, again, you want to convert the login data from Postman, which is in JSON, to I'll just say GOLANG readable format, whatever, right? Then the second thing that you'll do is you'll find that user. So find a user with that email. So ideally, you're sending your email address and password to login. So you'll find a user with that email and see if that user even exists. Only then you'll log that user in, right? Then you'll also, if that user exists, then you will verify the password as in if the password is correct. Otherwise, there's no point of verifying the password, right? If the user doesn't even exist. And then you'll, if all goes well, like the user has reached so far, then you'll generate tokens. So again, your generate tokens function comes into play from helper. And you'll update all the tokens as well. So you'll update tokens like your token and refresh token. And you'll return status OK. So that's your login function. And hash password and verify password are just, getting used here itself. So hash password is getting used in sign up function. Verify password is getting used in login in the login function. Make sense? So I usually don't do this. I usually don't write comments and then write code. I mean, I know a lot of people do it, and it's kind of it makes it easy to understand, easy to plan. But I do a lot of planning visually. So sometimes you don't see what's happening behind the scene, but I usually have my draw.io open on a different screen, and I'm basically drawing the whole thing out, and then I already have like a game plan. So in the earlier videos, like let's say the SQL video and the like the GoLang MySQL video and I think the server video. So all those videos I used to show also on the screen as in the whole visual planning that I've done. And I can do that also. I think in the upcoming videos I can show you how I plan for all these functions. But many people think that it's it takes time to do a lot of visual planning and then code. So this is a shorter way to do that. I mean, faster way to do that. I mean, you don't have to do a lot of visual planning. Just do textual planning, and then based on those steps you can write code. Right? I like the visual way of doing it. Like every single function, I map it out visually, the steps that I need to take. And this is just like a textual way of the same. So whatever works in your case, just do that. All right. Or if you're comfortable not doing any of these, completely all right. I mean, depending on your taste, obviously. So with the get users function, quite straightforward, right? We already done this. It's you start with context. So you don't have the context package, so it'll give you a squiggly line. And you say with timeout. By now you already know what these functions are and why do we use context and what is context. I'm assuming you've already done the GoLang tour, right? I hope you've done it already. So here, context.background, and here you'll say, somehow these, I don't know why these double brackets come up all the time. So spelling of background isn't correct. And here you're about to put a comma and say 100 seconds. So you'll say time.second. And so GoLang is really modular, right? Even time, like I can even use second without using the time package. So it's modular, but many people don't like it. They think that it's everything you have to import on your own. But it's also because that's what keeps things very lean, right? So it's already installed context for me. Somehow it's not installed time for me. So if you want to keep things lean and keep all your package builds and all of that very small, this is the right way to do. do it. Now, you need a couple of things, right? Just like we did in the other video. We need records per page. So when you're getting all your users, you want a little bit of pagination kind of a functionality. So you'll say, you'll also send how many records do you want per page, which page do you want it. Like, if you've done, if you're a Node.js developer, then it's very similar to skip in limit. And then you have your start index, where do you want to start from. So you'll have your start index. And then we'll do a little bit of, so this is again like kind of pseudo code that I'm writing here. And this is again, then again, you'll have to do your little bit of aggregation, not very complex. You'll have your match stage, where you'll match the user. And then you have your project stage, right? And after that, you'll have your aggregate function, where you'll pass your pipeline based on the stages that you've built. And then if all goes well, I mean, you'll either pass an error, or you'll ideally want to return all the users based on the various query parameters and all that. Okay. So let's start working from the top. So you'll have c.query and records per page, and I will put the whole of this thing into string conversion.atoi function, because I need a I can only work with integers, right? So, and then that integer I'm going to keep in record per page, comma, error. If you work with JavaScript, you don't have to do a lot of, telling it that if this is integer, this is string and all that. And that's why, that's the whole problem with JavaScript. You have so many errors, right? It's dynamically typed language, and I mean, I get really irritated very fast. And like 2 of my products, they have microservices in JavaScript. So I'm not, I'm speaking from like a lot of experience, very, very deep experience. I'm just not, just passing comments. I'm speaking for a lot of deep experience. I have more than 5 years of JavaScript experience, and some production errors are so bad that, you don't even know what's happening. And even somebody with 10, 15 years of experience, like not in JavaScript, but programming experience, like somebody like me who has more than 10 years of programming experience, like even I have issues fixing bugs in JavaScript. But with Golang, you already know how I write Golang, right? I don't think much, I just write everything, and I don't fix a lot of mistakes also while I'm coding. And at the end, I fix all the mistakes together, right? So it can lead to a lot of anxiety for other people who are following along with me, because they think that, how will you fix so many issues at the end? But that's only because they don't know Golang that well yet, right? So somebody who knows Golang really well, who's worked with it, they would know that, you can just do anything here and then fix everything at the end, and everything still works. I mean, so it's so intelligent, the language is so intelligent that it'll tell you where you're going wrong. Anyhow, so it's c.query. And again, you'll just say string convert.atoi. So all you're doing here is just getting your records per page and your records. This is basically, if you have not understood this is basically, the default. So if there's no record per page that you've sent a 0 there, or you've sent no value here, then you'll basically take a default value of 10. So you want 10 records per page, right? And very similar to skip and limit if you've used PHP or Node.js, like JavaScript or whatever. Here again, you'll get your page, and again, we'll check for the same thing, right? If error is not equal to nil, and page value is less than 1. Sorry, I think I said here that if error, this record per page is nil, right? I didn't mean that. I said that what I meant to say was that if error is not equal to nil, right? I wrote something else and I was reading something else. So if there's no error, and if you've sent a value that's that's not a logical value, like let's say it's 0 or it's negative or whatever, then you basically give it a value of 10 by default. And similarly here as well, if you're giving a value less than 1 for page, then page by default is equal to 1. Okay. And here the error is different, so it's called error 1. I'm calling it error 1 here. String convert, I'm not sure why it's not getting the string convert package for me. It did get the package for me, and now all the errors have gone away. These two things are still squiggly lines because I've not used them yet. So now you want to work with start index. So before I do that, I'll create a variable called start index, and the same logic as skip and limit. I'll say page -1 into record per page. And here I'll get this converted into integer. Now, mind you, this is not compulsory. I mean, you don't have to do all this, what I'm doing, like records per page and start index. You can just write a very simple get users function. You don't have to do all this. But we're doing it because we just want it to be a little more professional, right? Because it's quite possible you might want to use it in production or some like proper application. So you would want to have a skip and limit everywhere. So here you'll have to put this walrus character because you're defining start index for the first time. Okay. And for match stage, what you want to do is you want to say bson dot the walrus character, and you want to say bson dot d, capital D, and you want to $match, comma, bson dot d empty. You're sending something empty there. So there's nothing happening in the match stage. Everything is getting matched, right? And here you'll write $project, comma, bson dot d, and since if you've done a lot of videos with me, you already know what aggregation is, right? You already know what MongoDB aggregation is. But in case you don't know, aggregation is basically something that helps you match a lot of things. It has a lot of stages, right? It lets you perform a lot of operations. Like in an SQL database, you would have join operations. Here, you don't have join operations, you have aggregate. So aggregate lets you do a lot of joins, but it also lets you do a lot of different things, right? It lets you match, it lets you project. Project means that you want particular thing in your output, particular things in your output. So that's what project does. So project is saying that I want a total count, I want something called as the items. So all the user items, that's basically the data for all the users. So here it'll say bson.d. And how do you, here is where you'll pass your start index and your record per page. So you're going to use an operator which aggregate gives you access to. It's called the $slice operator. So $slice. You can go and check this out in the MongoDB documentation that I have open on the other screen. You can go check it out. These are all very, very simple concepts. Data. So on Google, you have to search aggregate MongoDB, and you'll come to the right documentation, which is for aggregation. And then you can also, if you want, you can also search for $slice aggregate MongoDB. If you search like this on Google, you'll get the documentation for $slice itself, right? And similarly, you can find documentation for $project and $match. So $match and $project are stages, aggregation stages, whereas $slice is an aggregation operator, all right? And this operator you can use in multiple different stages. So you can either use it in project or you can use it in match. I'm not sure if you can use it in match, but you can definitely use it in project and group and many other stages, right? So every operator has its own preferred stages that it works in. That was just like a very quick introduction to how MongoDB aggregation works. And it's a very, very important topic. If you don't know how it works, if you have no exposure to it, I highly recommend you check it out. I mean, according to me, it's the most important topic in today's times, because everything has moved to NoSQL, right? If anybody's using SQL these days, they're not in their right mind, I think. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, many of your like if you're building like an MVP or POC kind of a product, then definitely MongoDB or something which is NoSQL is the right way to go, because if your data schema changes a lot with SQL, all those migrations, running all those migrations is a pain, right? And these days, as you know, technology changes so fast that you have to keep changing your products very, very quickly. And this is why I always recommend to everybody, don't use SQL unless you have a product that you're very, very sure of and you've already tested out in the market and you know it's going to work and you already have users. Then for some microservices, like, the important one, you can start using SQL. But otherwise, if you're in POC stage, MVP stage, you don't know where the product is going, don't ever use SQL, all right? So user collection dot aggregate, and then you'll have result comma error. By the way, if you want to talk about more about this, you can let me know. I can explain to you what I mean by all this, right? If you don't know what MVPs or POCs are, or how the whole industry works and all that stuff. Anyhow, so this is your entire project stage, what do you call it, object that you'll send to the project stage, and then you'll run your aggregate function, right? So yeah, so this is your aggregate function, which I had written here, which I can remove now. So your aggregate function basically has mongo.pipeline and sends match stage and project stage there. And here at the end, you'll say defer cancel. And then you'll also check for error. So you'll say if error not equal to nil. And you'll say c.json http.status internal error don't server error, comma gen.h error occurred while listing user items. And you'll create a variable called all users, which will have bson.m cdx comma ampersand all users here is not equal to nil. If there's an error, you log it out. But if everything went well, so let me remove these lines, either pass an error, or if everything went well, then you want to return the status, which is status okay, and you want to return all the users in the ideal case scenario. So you don't have the log package, you don't have the bson package, and also I've written wrong here, so it should be capital T. So you don't have the bson package and you don't have the log package, right? I'll have the bson package. Let me write log as well here. Let's shift log up there. That seems to not understand $match. So let's investigate why that is. So the issue seems to be with the brackets. So with the aggregation, right, it's very important that you put the right number of brackets. If you don't, you'll get into trouble like I just did, right? So I've put the right number of brackets now. All the squiggly lines have gone away. Make sense? So this exact syntax you'll only get once you open up aggregation documents, right? So on your other screen, always have aggregation documents open up and see the right number of brackets. I missed out, one bracket, as you can see. It led to issues. Don't repeat that, all right? Anyhow, so let's work on your get user function. So that's way more straightforward, right? So same thing, ctx and cancel. And here you'll have context dot with timeout again, and context dot background, comma 100 multiplied by time dot second. and you'll have user ID is equal to c dot param user underscore ID. And you'll create a user models dot user, and then you'll have user collection dot find one. So we'll use the find one function because it'll find that one particular record for that user ID, right? So you'll say bison dot m user underscore ID. It's user ID dot decode ampersand user. So you have a error here because of models, so you need to also install the models package. That should hopefully sort it out. Yeah, so that issue is gone now. So basically you're creating a variable called user, which is of type models.user, and you'll get your user ID from params, which is user ID, and you'll get your user collection that you've defined already here. You will find one for that user ID, and you'll decode it, you already know, with the help of your struct, which is a user struct, right? And here you'll set it for cancel, and if error not equal to nil, c dot json http dot status internal server error gen.h error occurred while listing user items. And if everything went well, you'll return http dot status okay comma user. So that's it. That's your get user function. So your get users and get user is done. Just left with sign up and login. And in case you're wondering where the two errors are coming from, they're coming from this hash password and verify password function because we're not returning anything, right? So as soon as I write something that return this or that, then the errors will go away. So everything seems to be going fine with your get users and get user function. We'll work on sign up and login, but in the next video, because this video is I think above 30 minutes already, and so I think I just need a little bit of break, right? And in the next video, which I'll make tomorrow, I'll just wrap up the sign up function and hopefully the login function as well, and then we just have to work with these simple functions with auth token helper and auth middleware. Then we'll try and build the entire project, and we'll get a lot of issues and errors, I'm sure about that. Then we'll fix those, and then we'll test all the APIs, and then I think we're good to go. So thank you for watching, and in case you've not subscribed till now, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.